All right, YouTube, what is going on? We are so close to being done, finally, with the 2020 Evil offering. I am so excited to get this thing kind of finalized and ready to rock and roll. Today, we've got a couple of things we got to put on. We need to finish fitting the rear brake lever. That should actually be pretty easy. Just a couple of pieces that we've got to throw on there. We need to throw the SRAM X01 AXS rear derailleur on the back. And then we got to mount up the wheels. And guys, that actually concludes the build. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I don't have a ton of battery left on the GoPro. So I think what I first want to do is actually take care of the brake hose, as I think that's going to be the most difficult. Now, in my last video, and if you haven't seen the last video, we mounted the brakes, we mounted the crankset and the pedals. So yeah, I'll go ahead and link that in the video description above here. But you'll notice I gave myself a little bit of extra room here. Just because, you know, brake lines, you just want to make sure that there's some flex in them. You don't want to have them super tight. So I tend to run them a little bit loose towards the rear. And then the way that I like to size these up, now this will go in just a little bit. So the way that I'm actually going to do this is I kind of just like to hold the brake there and really just kind of look and see how I'm doing. Now, one thing that I really like to do is just kind of whip this all the way around so you can see like all the way turning the bars, which you hope that your bike never goes that far. But that actually looks not too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip this right about there. And you just wanna do a super quick, and I just wanna check my cut. Now, my cut is not completely level. I'm actually gonna come in. I just wanna cut this one more time. Pull that off, perfect. That actually was a really, really, really good cut. I'll clean off that in just a second here. All right, so I've owned Shimano for a long time. Personally, I think that Shimano are really, really easy to maintain from a brake perspective. Actually, I just kind of want to double check, and that's why I always leave a little bit of extra. Yeah, we should be good. But SRAM, I actually really like their barb and olive system. It's all threaded, which is super helpful, just because it just makes this so much easier of an install. So don't forget, I have done this, don't forget to put your end caps on before you put everything else on. There we go. And then the way that this works is these actually just thread on, which is super cool. I think it's a super innovative idea, and I think that SRAM's got it right when they did this. Okay, so on the inside of this is actually a Torx head in here. Now, I don't actually own a Torx head that's small enough for that. However, one really cool hack is that if you do have a small screwdriver, a flathead, that looks something like this, all you need to do is find the one that fits in there properly, so not that one. Now, I always encourage people to use the correct tools to do this, which actually I do think this one's supposed to be the right size. Yeah, there we go. But I'll go ahead and just get this screwed on here. Okay, so actually a hex key worked on these ones. Now these aren't actually SRAM specific. These are just some ones that I got off of Amazon. So I know the SRAM specific ones are definitely a Torx key or a Torx wrench. But we're just gonna wanna make sure that we get this flush with the cable. There we go. Yeah, that looks awesome. And then what's really, really cool about this is this actually is just a reverse thread. So what happens is this goes on. So now we're just gonna make sure we're not tangled with any wires here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead, push that up inside. So you wanna make sure that it goes in there pretty firmly. And then as you're pushing it in, you're gonna start to thread this in. All right, so you can kind of feel like I just felt all of their contact. And the way that I do this is I just kind of like push it until I start to get that resistance there. And one good way to actually check this is to look at how many threads you've got on this side and just kind of match that on this side, right? So you want these to be tight, but you don't want them to be, so like that for me is probably pushing the tightness. Now, I'm taking my thumb and I'm putting some pressure down. If I look at how many threads I've got here, it's about the size of the wrench. If I look how many I've got here, it's a little bit more. So I'm gonna try to go just a little bit deeper on this. There we go. Now that's feeling pretty tight there. Let's make me go. Yeah, all right, we're gonna stop right there actually. All right, and I've got a pad thing in the back there, so I'm not too worried about that. So let's go ahead and get the brake cable housing cover back on to both of these. Very nice. All right, so that is now connected, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now guys, it is truly time for the ultimate derailleur here. We do have the SRAM X01. I am so incredibly excited about this. Guys, I went crazy and I actually put 3M protectant tape on pretty much all surfaces of this. I mean, this thing was expensive, so I want to protect my investment. I like keeping my stuff looking nice, so pretty excited about that. All right, I'm gonna put just a little bit of grease, not a ton, definitely not a ton on this, especially it being a electronic derailleur. I just really don't wanna mess around here, okay? All right. And you just want to make sure that that lines up correctly, and then you really do not want to cross thread these things. So that's looking pretty good right there. So we will go ahead, put that in, and then we need to do 10 to 12 Newton meters, which 12 Newton meters is the limit of this torque wrench. So that's perfect. All right, and then we're just going to put this in, and we're going to tighten down to that 10 to 12, and that right there is 12. So we're going to stop it. So that is torqued down. All right, guys, we are so close to finishing this build. All right, let's pull out the rear axle. So you're just gonna give this a quick wipe down. Haven't wiped this down quite yet. We'll get some grease on this as well. Give it a nice wipe down all over. All righty. Now we've got our Reynolds Carbon rim set here with the Minion DHR2. These tires, they've got a few miles on them, so we're probably gonna have to replace them sometime this year. Go ahead and pop this out. Now, one of the things that I like to do just prior to installing the tire is I like to loosen up these brake calipers just to make sure that I've got room for them to wiggle. There we go. That one looked like that was on there pretty good. All right, so we got some room to wiggle there. There we go. Get it in. Didn't realize I had some of that grease on me. I'll go ahead, pop that up. There we go, and pop this in. All right, guys, so unfortunately the camera ran out, the GoPro at least ran out of battery. At this point, I don't exactly know where it ran out, but I did want to show you guys, we were able to get the rear wheel on. We did torque it down to the appropriate torque settings. We got the derailleur sitting on there, the amazing SRAM AXS X01. We did put the chain on, adjusted the chain guide right here, threw the front wheel on, and we also lined up the front and the back brakes right there. And then just did a couple of maintenance things, cut the cable off of here, and this is really nifty. They just kind of tuck it up right underneath there. If you can see that, it's just tucked up right under there. And then guys, final touch, I did find a correct bolt for this. So all in all guys, like she really came together nicely. I mean, this is one absolutely beautiful bike. But other than that guys, like thank you for taking part in this 3-part build series. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this whole thing come together. Again, I'm not a professional mechanic on bikes, but I have built a few, and so hopefully some of the tips and tricks that maybe I've shown you here will come into handy if you want to build your bike. But until then, let's go ahead and just get into some of the finer details.